Buddy, 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 buddy. Man, it's hot out here. That's going to be the next thing for the next couple of months. That's pretty much all I'm going to be saying every time I come out here to work is, buddy, 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 it is hot out here. Hey guys, Abner, Miranda here. Welcome out to the range. Today I'm working on handgun skills because I've got a gentleman coming out here. Man, the sweat bees are after me today. Got a gentleman coming out here this week for a class, for some private training, and this is a drill that I call the Switchback Drill. No reason other than just because I work the target from one end, then I work it to the other end. From each one of these positions, the targets are 10 yards away, so 10 yards from that barrier to that target, 10 yards from that barrier to that barrier, and then the ones that you can't see off camera right now are 10 yards from the barrier here to the targets there. And what that gives me is, if I see that, basically I begin the student and I say, work from one set of targets and work to the first set of barriers. And practice catching the very edge of that target, especially this one because it actually has shoulders. Practice catching the edge of that target without seeing its head. If you're working your angles correctly and that were a real bad guy, he wouldn't be able to see you. And then, so if you see his shoulders on one side, jink to the other side and move a little bit closer. And I try to get the student to move up to the 10-yard line so that they can get up from behind cover and get a nice clean shot on that target. I don't want any of this kind of crap going on. I want a nice clean set up, drop out, compressing your body as much as possible, because there seems to be a thing nowadays where like people like to shoot like this. You know, it's like, and guys, you're literally growing yourself. You're just making yourself big. I mean, look, I already have enough of a problem being big, and I'm sure a lot of you as well. A lot of you do as well. So practice making yourself as small as possible when you're moving around. So, anyways, the person shoots, takes shots from there, and then they basically turn around and work the angles back the opposite direction. And what I have found over years of doing this with people is that in a very short period of time, in a very short period of time, the student is so sucked into that drill. Oh, that is the right one, okay. The student is so sucked into that drill that they start forgetting to breathe. And in fact, just a couple of days ago, I was on the range with some students, and one of the students, when we finished, we were doing the handgun combatives box drill, which is a lot of movement. And so he finished the drill, and as he came to his last shot, he came to standstill. He found his target, he took his shot, and then as he went to holster, I saw him go like this, because it was really hot like it is today. And I realized his blood gases are so out of whack right now, he could potentially fall over. So I came over to him, and I put one hand here, and I put this hand here, and I said, go ahead and holster. So he holstered up, and I transferred my body around to this side. So I had this hand on the inside of his arm, and I had this hand here, and I said, breathe. And all my students are taught square breathing, which is breathe in for 4 through the nose. So it's in for 4, hold for 4, exhale for 4 out of the mouth, hold for 4, in through the nose for 4, and that forces a person to, it actually does give you control over your heart rate, which is really quite interesting. It actually helps you control your heart rate and slow it down. Not to mention, you're sucking in a deep, long breath. You're making sure it's good and embedded in there, good and embedded in there. And then you're letting it out, and you're slowing your heart rate down, and you're feeding your blood the oxygen that it needs. What happens in these drills is, as you're moving and then you're shooting, you're forgetting to breathe. I mean, you get so sucked in, and that's the beauty of these drills. If the drill has a lot of motion, the round count is completely irrelevant. If that drill has a ton of motion to it, then that person gets sucked into the moment. Not to mention that I'm egging them just a little bit, and I'm saying, he can see you, so you better move, he can see you. If I can get the student sucked in on the drill, and get them completely lost mentally, which is what I want in this drill. It's not that I'm trying to trip you up, it's that I'm trying to train you to survive a gunfight. If I can get you sucked into that moment, then you're not thinking so much about all the other things that you're doing. You're only thinking about moving, stopping, stabilizing, shooting, moving, which is the main crux of what I do. I teach you how to stand, the fighting stance. I teach you how to move, stop, stabilize, shoot, and then take off again. And what I have found over many years of training, and to date it's 65 classes, is that you may have a range that's permissive to lots of movement, but the range in and of itself may not be large enough to give you the ability to move. And that's what this space out here allows me to do. This drill right here is one, and right past it with the barriers hooked in on each other, that's an entirely different drill. Like I said, I've got a student coming out in a couple of days, so I wanted to set this up for him. And then behind this camera is a whole nother 50 by 50 yards with more targets that we can work with. So I have the ability to have multiple things set up, scaled properly for expansive space, where I can basically just move the student from one area to the next for different drills. Like this particular drill can be run with rifles because that target and that target are rifle grade. The ones past them are handgun. The ones over here are rifle. And then of course, another 150, 200 yards in that direction, I have a 100-yard rifle range, and then of course the overland course over there. So I want to give people the ability to do drills where they're moving. A couple years ago I was talking with one of my mentors, and he's a former Green Beret A-team member, and he actually helped train Delta operators to get the team moving forward. And what's really cool about him is that, and he still trains, which is phenomenal. He's in his 70s and he still trains people, which is really cool. And he has a wealth of knowledge that I love to just draw from. And one of the things he was telling me when we were talking recently was that, he goes, people get a lot of this stuff wrong. He says they spend a lot of energy focusing on you know, front bumper, over the hood, past the windshield, through the vehicle, you know, C-post, the back side of the vehicle, bumper. And the reason for that is because you only have so much you can do in a very compact space. Whoa, I think I got another bee in there. And so the point he's getting at is vehicles are bullet magnets, get away from them. If you're rolling, you're being shot at. If the vehicle gets incapacitated, get out of the vehicle because they're lighting that vehicle up. So this whole thing about getting out of the vehicle and shooting around the vehicle is training people erroneously, get away from the vehicle. Not every range can allow for that. I get that. Well, the same thing happens with barriers. You'll see these barrels right here in front of me. They've got cutouts in them. Those barriers over there have a lot of cutouts in them. And historically, I used to work the barriers, work the step ladder, work the, you know, the circle, the rectangle, all that jazz. And now my thing is fire a couple of shots, hightail it. Fire a couple of shots, hightail it. And for those that are wondering, because people like to ask this question, well, why are the targets this way and that way? Each and every movement, each and every time that I tell you move, that is, think of that as a completely different fight. Okay, that's a whole nother moment in time. The reason that I move you a lot when I do this is because what I have found after the second combination of movement, stopping, stabilizing, shooting, moving, stopping, stabilizing, shooting, moving, so 1 and 2, and when you're on your way to the third one, you're done. You are no longer thinking about my feet, about my body position, about getting that gun at where it needs to be, about finding my front sight. If I haven't done my job in giving you all those basics, by the time you do the third, by the time you move into the third, so basically, by the time you move past the second iteration of move, stop, stabilize, shoot, move, on your way to the third one, I see something switch in people. Guys, I just taught a class 2 days ago, and I saw this, and I see this all the time. On the moving to his third iteration, the student was done. He was gone. He was so sucked into the drill because remember, the brain cannot differentiate between combat stress and training stress. Colonel Dave Grossman has scientific work on this. And we have now moved so past Colonel Grossman, which really honks me off because Colonel Dave Grossman has a body of work that is expansive on this, and people don't give him the props that he deserves. But there is data on this, which is why stress inoculation, I say to people, stress inoculation is a real thing. So anyways, by the time you're moving through your third iteration, you are no longer physically and mentally seeing this as a drill. You're seeing this as combat, which is why if you're going to do one drill and one drill only, make it be the handgun combatives box drill. 8 yards, 15 yards, with 5 yards between each position. 3 targets if possible, but if not, you can actually get away with 1 target because from the 8-yard position at positions 1, 2, and 3, that target is still far enough away from you that you can work it. And of course, you can easily work it from the 15-yard position as well. And that one drill is actually that's the one we were doing, and the student was totally sucked in and gone, and I loved it. By the time we got to the end, man, he was just twitching and shaking, and I went, heck yeah, that means you actually got an adrenaline push from your adrenal gland, and that's what I want. That's what you need. You need to stress inoculate yourself against this kind of stuff. I know I don't look like it, but I am an adrenaline junkie, and I have been for a very long time, and I've now reached a point where adrenaline doesn't do anywhere near as much as it used to do to me. And I'm going to go one step further based on the years of doing this kind of thing. I'm going to go one step further from Colonel Grossman's work, and I'm going to say that once you have reached a point of true stress inoculation, you actually will reach a point where adrenaline really does lose a fair amount of its ability to give you the jitters, which is actually what I want, because now I find myself in a position where, and I'll give you a great example of this, over the last however long it's been that we've been dealing with the baloney that is COVID and all the fear that goes with it. I've dealt with a lot of very fearful people who lose their ever-loving mind because I don't wear a mask. I go in and out of businesses, and I was going in and out of businesses during the whole COVID craze, and I wasn't wearing a mask. And some people would scream me out of stores. And there were times where it was really bad. I mean, I could see the demonic control over that person. It was so bad. And I would go out to the vehicle, and I'd do a couple cycles of square breathing, and I'd be like, okay, cool. And I'd go somewhere else to find what I needed from that store. I'd go and find it somewhere else. And I know it's because of all the training that I've done in this environment where I'm accustomed to adrenaline flowing through my system. So guys, I'm telling you, stress inoculation training is real, it is doable, it is attainable, and it doesn't take that much to get there if you do drills that have a lot of motion to them. So once again, low round count, high motion, and high amount of reps on the basics. There's nothing ninja that's being done here. All this is moving responsibly with your sidearm and or long gun, and I'm going to do it again with my long gun. When you run this drill with either weapon, it's muzzle awareness, because remember, you're rotating. You're reaching the end of the travel and you're rotating and doing it again. And it's finding your sights, squeezing the trigger, pressing the trigger, whatever you want to call it, and then deciding, do I need to shoot again or do I need to move? And there's nothing ninja about that. Those are the basics being done smoothly. So, as always, I thank you guys for watching. God bless you all. Get those guns out and practice. Have a good one. You know what? Let's run it with rifle. Ooh, those are instant fight enders. Have a good one, guys.